Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So we're talking about the new DLC for Immortals Fenyx Rising. So without further ado, let's make a start with that review. The new DLC is called Myths of the Eastern Realm, and you take control of a character called Ku, and he is trying to find a goddess called Nua, and she is the creator of all living things, and the aim is to try and turn back time to try and bring everyone back to life and try and stop whatever has happened from happening. I've always been someone that feels like if you bring out a game, that should be the game. You shouldn't have to buy extra purchases for the game. I guess if people want to maybe make in-game purchases for different costumes and things, that's up to them. But I feel like if you're bringing out a story, that's got to be the story. So I was very wary when I was looking at this DLC, and I did and ah. I missed out on the second DLC, but I decided to go ahead and buy this one because I have thoroughly enjoyed the game itself. When you look at Immortals Fenyx Rising from a price point of view, including DLC, the base game is around £25 now, which is pretty cheap. And then obviously this third DLC cost me £10. So even for £35, you're looking at kind of like 50 hours, maybe even more of game time, which is still pretty cheap even with DLC. Compared to a lot of other games for the Switch, £35 for a game plus DLC is actually not that bad. I think overall, I actually preferred the protagonist in this, and I preferred the story to this compared to the main story in Immortals. It's a shame that we only got 10 hours of gameplay with this DLC, because I would have liked to see them explore this character a little bit more. So for me, I've really enjoyed this story. For £10, that's what you're getting. You're getting basically 10 hours of new story. There's no change in combat system or anything like that. The gameplay is exactly the same. So if you love the gameplay from the main story and the main game, you'll continue to love that. Obviously, the things that have changed is the protagonist, and then obviously the visuals have changed as well. And when I say visually, it's right down to some of the plants and the wildlife, and then also the trees. There's a lot more bamboo trees in the game, and also the way the character moves in and out of combat. There's a lot more kung fu style movements, a lot more backflips when you maybe land or when you back away from combat. So that's some of the visual changes in the game. So the original game taught us more about the Greek mythology, which I know a little bit about, and this time round we've learned more about the Chinese mythology, which I really didn't know anything about. So I have really enjoyed that aspect of the game and actually learning more about the Chinese mythology. I do just quickly want to go back to the gameplay. Now, on the original story, when you were attacking enemies, you got a combo meter. It didn't really amount to anything. On this game, you get a gauge, and as Ku continues to fight and you manage to build and build that combo meter, his attacks become more powerful. So when you eventually do, say, a special attack, you do a big axe attack or a big sword attack, your damage is actually increased. So it means the better you are as a player, the more damage you can do. So it does make some of the harder bosses a little bit easier to defeat. It would be really awesome if this got carried over to the main game. I don't think it will, but it is a really good change, and I really think this in the DLC is really fun, and it's made the game a lot more fun to play as well, and it's given you a reason to become better at the game as well. If you preferred some of the puzzle elements to the game rather than the fighting, then that's all still there. There are a few changes, there are a few picture puzzles compared to what we had with some more of the Greek mythology in the original game, but they're all still there, they're all really confusing, and some are easier, some are harder, but it's still a really fun aspect of the game. So if you did enjoy that, it's still in the DLC and you'll find lots and lots to do throughout the map. So to summarise, I've really enjoyed this DLC. It took me about 8 hours to go through the story. I'm going to try and do every single chest, so I'm looking at probably another couple of hours of gameplay. I haven't touched Immortals Fenyx Rising since mid-January, but literally within 10-15 minutes I was back and able to fight and play exactly as I was when I put it down a couple of months ago. Looking at this from an overall price, £25 for the main game, £10 for the DLC, I think that is a fantastic price. You've added another, 12 hours onto the base game, 50-60 hours worth of gameplay. It's still really good value for money when you look across the board at every other game that's on the Nintendo Switch. I really do hope we get to see more of Ku. I hope they make a second Immortals Fenyx Rising that focuses more on Ku, or even more on the Chinese mythology overall. But overall, I have really enjoyed this game. For a £10 add-on to a relatively cheap game, you can't complain at that. Thanks a lot for watching this review. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and comment down below what you've really enjoyed in the DLC. Thanks a lot everyone.